Watch this.
The Marriage Equality Act is clearing Congress, but concerns over how Idaho's delegation voted on the measure are being raised. What the Boise Pride Festival organization has to say as legislation could head to the White House soon. And with kids at home during the holidays, childcare becomes a little more difficult. One Kuna company is looking to change that for their community as a whole. And speaking of the holidays, what's more merry than shopping at the mall? Sitting? We look back at an age-old tradition while hunting down the deals. Thanks for joining us on your Tuesday. Brian Holmes is off this week. Let's begin the program circling back to a major case, legal case, that we followed here on the 208 since the year 2020. Today, oral arguments at the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in the case of Hecox versus Little. Boise State student Lindsay Hecox, a transgender woman, is suing the state of Idaho over a law preventing transgendered athletes who identify as female from participating in girls' or women's sports. Hecox says that the law prevented her from going out for the women's cross-country team at Boise State. Now, two other Idaho collegiate athletes from Idaho State University are asking the court to dismiss the legal challenge. They're on the other side of this debate. They say that the law protects women's sports. They want to see a lift on the rules that say that forces female athletes, they say, to compete against males who identify as female while the lawsuit is ongoing. Now, the Idaho conversation is a part of the national debate on how trans college athletes compete and who they compete against. Last July, a federal district court judge ruled that the lawsuit Hecox filed is valid in Idaho, meaning the case proceeds while the Idaho law remains blocked for now. Now, the state of Idaho, they're appealing that blocking. So at today's hearing, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals heard arguments about whether the challenge to the law is valid and if it should go on. A decision on that is expected within the next several months. So we did hear today, though, from each side. They made their big arguments. Here's a little bit of the rationale from each side.
This case has never been about soccer, and it's never been about the ability to try out. Even Hecox noted that. I will direct your honors to paragraph 31 of the complaint, where Hecox goes to great length to talk about missing the camaraderie and motivation that comes with being on a team, running with people, wearing the uniform, having a coach. It wasn't simply about trying out Hecox. It was about actually being on the team. And that is how this case has been litigated. And so the ability to try out is a very different controversy that's, again, being read into the complaint in this latter stage when the original injury, running on the team, has become moot.
What I can tell you is in the stipulated facts that were filed in the district court, the parties addressed this in some detail and cited to the NCAA rule. It's a bylaw 14.4.3.2, and it talks about the number of credits toward graduation that are required by the rules. And all parties stipulated that those numbers had to be met or Hecox wouldn't be eligible.
Idaho's 2020 law drew attention from the NCAA and could impact NCAA decisions on hosting events like March Madness here in Boise. The judges in this case have a lot to consider. We expect movement on the case in the coming months. We'll keep you posted. A major conversation across Idaho continues to be how the LGBTQ community is treated in our state. Just in the last several months, the Boise Pride Festival was surrounded by controversies. And of course, the North Idaho Pride Festival was a target of the Patriot Front group, a group that was arrested on site, hanging out in a box truck wearing their brave masks. Now, those incidents create serious conversations about acceptance and the message Idaho leaders send to Idahoans on the topic through their words and their actions. And members of the Idaho LGBTQ community say a big message was sent from Idaho's congressional representatives in a recent vote on marriage equality. For perspective, we spoke with the director of the Boise Pride Festival, and we also heard from congressional leaders on why they recently voted no on the Respect for Marriage Act. A major win in Congress for LGBTQ supporters. The United States Senate voted in favor of advancing legislation that would codify protections for same-sex marriage. A 62-37 procedural vote in the U.S. Senate clears the way for final votes on the Respect for Marriage Act. And the Respect for Marriage Act does a few things. Congressional sponsors explain that the act would require the federal government to recognize a marriage between two individuals if the marriage was valid in the state where it was performed. The bill would not require a state to issue a marriage license contrary to state law. To be clear, the act still needs to go through some more technical hoops, but it does appear that it will pass in Congress soon. The procedural vote tally that saw all Senate Democrats vote yes, with a handful of Republicans crossing the party lines to also vote yes. That's why it advanced. The Republican votes got that act over the procedural hump. Idaho senators were not part of that yes voting group, though.
Not surprised. I mean, it's sad.
Donald Williamson is the executive director of Boise Pride. He says no votes from Senator Crapo and Risch are not surprising.
It would be nice to see them vote to not always vote against marginalized communities and equal rights every single time.
So why did Senators Mike Crapo and Jim Risch vote no on the Respect for Marriage Act? Senator Crapo writes in a statement, quote, "The bill would federalize the law of marriage, mandating that every state follow every other state's marriage laws, establishing private rights of action in Justice Department enforcement. I firmly support states' rights to determine the definition of marriage. Idaho has the constitutional right to define marriage as its voters and duly elected officials determine. I also remain concerned with this." Senator Risch writes, regarding same-sex marriage, Idaho has a constitutional amendment on the book defining marriage as its voters determine, and that is a standard I support. The federal government has no business attempting to direct our views on this matter. In addition, this bill lacks crucial religious liberty protections for individuals, schools, adoption agencies, and faith-based organizations that hold valid religious views that disagree with this mandate.
I find that ironic because I found it as yet another example of elected officials trying to force their personal, deeply held religious beliefs on everybody else that they govern, because not everybody worships the way that they worship. But, like I said, it's sad, but it's not surprising.
Williamson says he understands the arguments against the act, but regardless, no votes on the Respect for Marriage Act still sends a message to the Idaho LGBTQ community. He says it's similar to Idaho legislation that has targeted the LGBTQ community in recent years.
And every time we see bills like that, it's an attempt to further take a chink in the armor at dehumanizing this whole sect of the population. And when we see them voting against a bill that was nothing more than simply making it so that every state had to recognize the marriage of any couple, regardless of their gender or sexual orientation or whatever, it's disheartening and it's infuriating.
Williamson says it is encouraging to see the Respect for Marriage Act getting enough support on a national level to see it likely pass. Still, he says, the reality of the situation is many elected officials do not support the idea here in Idaho.
If that's your deeply held beliefs, great, more power to you. Just don't go to the wedding and don't let those people in your church if that's how you want to worship. Yeah, it's not taking away their personal freedoms. It's not forcing you to acknowledge it. It's just forcing the state to acknowledge it.
Again, there are some procedural votes that still need to happen, but it appears that the act will pass. We'll keep you posted as final votes on the act are expected to be held in the near future. A celebration for kids, but maybe better described as a headache for working parents. Winter break is coming up or already here, depending on your district. And that means that plans need to be made to take care of the kids when their parents are gone working. But childcare can be hard to come by. The Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children conducted a survey in 2021. In that survey, they found more than 90% of childcare providers were understaffed, and that limits the number of children that they can care for. See the problem here? Well, one local company took matters into their own hands. CS Beef Packers in Kuna donated $4 million to the Boys and Girls Club. It's an investment to help expand childcare capacity. It would benefit their employees who work at the packing plant and others in the community. Our Andrew Bartline reports.
A beef packing plant 9 miles from downtown Kuna packs the parking lot in tight. The same can be said for the building that provides childcare for the community. A working relationship between the two keeps the town ticking.
They have been supporting us for years.
And this year, they packed a massive donation all into one.
CS Beef donated $4 million.
Jody Gempler is the director of development.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
That's because they care for a lot of kids. On any given day, the Kuna Boys and Girls Club watches roughly 100 elementary schoolers, but the need grows every year.
There's a documented daycare shortage in Kuna.
Short by roughly 65 kids today. The wait list fluctuates, But the bottom line packs into one statement.
We have so many families here that need services, and we just don't have space to help the kids, and we really want to.
They must be old.
Jody says the packing plant donated the money so their employees can have access to childcare, a necessary resource to recruit and retain workers.
And by way of history, we've been wanting to have a club here for a very long time, so it was just a match made in heaven.
A new facility would triple capacity.
I like fruit snacks too.
It's a business interest on the surface, but packed below the finish, benefits spread throughout the county.
And we actually have 150 different businesses that use this club. So a lot of people don't realize that Kuna, it is a bedroom community, and 95% of the people that live in Kuna work outside of Kuna. So it's an Ada County workforce issue.
The donation spearheads a $10 million project. The Boys and Girls Club wants to pack a 25,000 square foot facility into town.
They don't have a lot of the same resources that other Ada County communities have, so this will be a really good opportunity to really serve those kids.
And to serve the families that go to work every day to serve us.
I feel really inspired. As a parent myself, I know how difficult it is to find good quality daycare at an affordable rate.
For this $10 million project, the Boys and Girls Club says they've raised $6 million so far. That would include the $4 million donation from the CS Beef Packers Company. Gempler says the facility will have a cafeteria, a gym, a STEM center. It will also expand the ages that they can take care of as well, Joe. Right now, it's really just elementary aged kids. Well, if they were able to get this $10 million and create this expansion, it would be kids of all ages, which, again, would help people further.
And it's interesting to me, if you just look at the parking lot that you filmed today at the beef packer plant, you can just see how many cars are in the lot, and you can imagine how many kids that, the workers have, and it really just illustrates, we need to have a place for these kids to go.
Yeah, it's a really big need, and it shows how big the need is. If there's a company that's willing to say, here's $4 million to help solve this problem, clearly it's needed.
And we know the Boys and Girls Club, they do a lot of great work in our community, so $4 million going to a good cause. Andrew Bartline reporting for us here on your Tuesday. Thanks so much. We're going to roll on right after this. Do you have the holiday spirit? This next story might help get some there. With all the online shopping these days, who needs to go to the mall? Well, these guys have accepted their role. What are you looking forward to this holiday season? Or have any thoughts on our show or something going on in your life? Questions maybe? Text us, 208-321-5614. Please be sure to include your name and hashtag the 208. Stay tuned. Some of your comments will be shared live on air at the end of the program. Don't want to put the tree before the turkey, but here we are. Chances are most stores have had their Christmas decorations up for a little while, and that's typically a sign that it's time to hit the holiday shopping spree. But with online and mobile shopping, the need or want to head out to the mall, it's calmed down over the years. But the people you're about to meet play a special role in the hustle and bustle of holiday shopping. They are the shopping standbys of sorts, and it's an observation that was made by Idaho Life reporter John Miller back in 1999 in today's 208 Redial.
When the mall is at its bustle and busiest, Jeff Johnson is what you call a sit-down guy.
The wife, she is the shopper, and I am the sitter.
The model for all mall mankind.
You can tell people all they need to know about waiting, right?
Sure, I'm an expert.
Yep. Legs spread about shoulder width apart, hands neatly folded, and wait and wait and wait, huh?
Right.
Are you a shopper?
No, I'm more of a looker.
Which looks sort of like this, kind of like a leaner, not to be confused with a follower.
And it looks to be like you're a tag-alonger here, huh?
Yeah, I'm following the boss.
The shopper. Give her credit. She's leagues apart from the sitter.
Oh, yes, there's definitely a difference.
Yeah, I'm a sitter.
Hey, aren't we all? Go ahead. Stretch out. You're a sitter. At least you're not one of these.
I'm a carrier.
I guess we gotta have those too, huh?
Makes you wish you were a roller, who's actually just a few steps from this.
He's a climber.
Better than being a liar.
It's just not my idea of enjoyment is coming to the mall.
Yeah, I've had enough.
Too bad, because it can go on forever and ever and ever.
That's true.
Which isn't so bad, because in reality, the shopper is allowing you to be the slacker.
Isn't that a nice wife to have?
Well, then I guess it's not so bad being a sitter, huh?
Not really.
Unless, of course, in the end, you're also the payer.
That's the one that hurts.
John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
What a time 99 was. Sticking with the holiday spirit, we want to tell you this year's Capitol Christmas tree, it's on its way to being displayed. The Idaho Department of Land says they cut down the tree yesterday, and they add this year's tree donor is David Beal. Beal says he's honored to provide the tree this year, but he does have a few mixed feelings about his tree's absence.
It's kind of melancholy. That tree's probably been standing in front of my house for 20, 25 years. Just was planted too close to the house, so it had to come out, and the state approached us to donate it, and we were happy to do it, and we are just so honored that that's going to be standing at the Capitol for Christmas this year.
Oh, and what a perfect tree that is. And this year's Christmas tree lighting, Friday at 5 o'clock, it's according to downtownboise.org. There will be some choir performances as well as some speakers there. So the holiday spirit's in full swing. But don't forget, Thanksgiving is on Thursday 1st. And if all of this isn't getting you in the holiday mood, we have one last thought for you. The Idaho Botanical Gardens Winter Garden Aglow is going to open this week on Thanksgiving Day. And the light show is possible with a partnership with the Idaho Department of Corrections East Boise Community Reentry Center. Residents of the program are working to reintegrate into the community and help with hanging and taking down lights. This year's Children's Garden was designed by residents. The display runs from November 24th through December 31st, Wednesdays through Sundays. Tickets need to be purchased in advance on the Botanical Gardens website. Gary and Tyson went and got that this morning, so that drone video is from today. What a beautiful day, but I understand you're tracking some snow?
That's true. You know what that video really made me want to do, though, Joe? Made me want to go to the River Festival.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that view and that vantage point at the park. Oh, yeah. Man, remember the River Festival?
I don't.
we need to get a John Miller River Festival package in the 208.
Easy.
All right. Yeah, he probably has it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely, or several of them. Yes, a little bit of snow on the way, quick moving system. The great news is it's not a lot of snow, shouldn't affect any travel unless you're headed out late this evening into the overnight hours, and even then might not barely even slow things down. And the great news is it's going to take out our inversion, or at least weaken it enough to kind of clean up our air quality for a bit. It gets a bit breezy tomorrow afternoon, so we'll all be breathing a little bit easier, and we get the sunshine back in across the area. So scattered snow showers will be filling in this evening after the sun goes down. West Central Mountains, most of the snow accumulation is expected over the higher elevations, and it's really light snow totals. That doesn't mean that the Treasure Valley is free from snow. We might see a few flakes from here to there, but as far as accumulation goes, maybe an isolated coating on some of the grassy surfaces. That's about all we can hope for the Treasure Valley for snow this round of weather. And we get the sunshine back in across the area for Wednesday and for Thanksgiving as well. Just some high clouds expected for Thursday, and mostly sunny skies will continue into the first half of the weekend. So light snow totals, perhaps an inch or two, again, mainly over the mountain areas. You will find some higher totals as you go points north toward Lewiston into Spokane and also over into Missoula, Montana. But if that's not where your travel takes you, then you should be good to not be slowing down. No winter weather advisories for southern Idaho or eastern Oregon. Magic Valley forecast quite windy tomorrow, so even near 40 degrees, it's feeling much chillier than that, with gusts up to 35 miles per hour at times during the afternoon. Into the central mountains, looking for highs to be in the 30s tomorrow, with lots of sunshine returning to the forecast area. West Central Mountains as well, partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies, low to mid 30s. And for the lower Treasure Valley, hopefully breaking into the low 40s for a change. Still a touch below average for this time of year, but a bit warmer than the better part of the last 2 weeks. So that is a change for us. Second half of the weekend, as we look towards Sunday and then into next week, Monday, some more snow showers that are expected. Now, we can't take these numbers for exactly what you see here, but it does give you an idea that more snow is on the way Sunday, Monday, especially over mountain passes. And so if that trip back home takes you literally over the river, through the woods, and over the mountain passes, then it might have some tricky travel to it. But again, that's not until the second half of the weekend and into the beginning of next weekend. It's looking like that first week of December could prove to be colder than average and also wetter than average, which would really help to boost up the snowpack and make things look just the way they should for those area ski resorts. Joe?
Okie dokie, folks, we get to the Comment-tron 7000 here. This person says, it's great that CS Beef is interested in childcare for its workers, makes it easier for employees working 60+ hours a week. Scott in Boise, hashtag Papa Scott. Thank you so much, Scott, for the message. We appreciate that. And how about this, by the way, this new bold font? You guys like this? We can all read it. Hashtag the 208. Thank you for bringing up some of the older stories that you've done. Very interesting. Appreciate it. Thanks from Bob. Yeah, we love showing some of those old stories. Of course, John Miller, an all-time classic reporter here at Channel 7. He's got a lot of great stuff for over the years. We love sharing that. And this person says, Andrew, what's with the suit coat? Trying to look like Brian? That's Bill. Hashtag the 208. I got to tell you, yeah, Andrew, he's got some really nice suit coats. He'll never beat Brian. I'm more of the straight-laced guy here. But I'll tell you this, if you encourage Andrew, he will continue to dress like Brian. So these comments, pretty good. All right, folks. We'll see you tomorrow, the eve before Thanksgiving.